Okay, fellas, we've got new stuff. Okay, Heartsfire 4 has a brand new developer diary, mostly fixing all the stuff that was broken in the latest DLC. I say mostly because I do have the patch notes for the open beta stuff that was already released and is now in the game, which we'll look at in a second, actually in-game. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, also, slop. Bit of cruel realization for Paradox. They have actually reintroduced the Sudarbad Pact, little hidden focus tree that was in the game but wasn't actually implemented. So a lot of people found this immediately on release of Graveyard of Empires and had a lot of questions for Paradox. I get the feeling it's probably not the exact same that was planned, but it is a brand new one and is a shared focus tree, which is kind of a new thing Paradox have been doing quite a bit of lately, and I guess it does make sense in this instance for them to have one. Now, I don't think it's the most interesting thing that's in this dev diary, but it is nice to see that they seem to be listening, I guess, and at least reintroducing stuff that people did have, I guess, a loud voice about. I do find it kind of weird, you know, that they didn't have this in the DLC from launch, even though they planned to at some point, obviously, and then scrapped it, even though it was, you know, a historical thing that has a lot more basis than, say, the Silk Road. Hey, but when I hit the blast of DLC, we already know it was bad. We're going to see how they can try and fix it, and a lot of stuff is exactly what you'd imagine, just a whole bunch of economic bonuses and other such things for all the nations that will be spread between them. Okay, moving on, we also have a communist update for the Raj. I haven't actually even played the communist path for the Raj, so I'm not too sure how bad it was, but this has said that they have almost completely revamped the communist branch for India. We felt that there was room for improvement here, both in terms of the story being told and the gameplay itself, so we wanted to focus on improving the narrative and flow of the tree in a number of ways. And from what I can read here, they've changed how you actually turn communist now. You used to use the autonomy system and break free, even in the communist path. But looking back later, we agreed with the community feedback that this didn't gel well with the narrative and was confusing for players. Which, yeah, that does sound a little bit weird, but it has looked like they've put themselves a new system in here where you are slowly turning communist and kind of undermining the state rather than just clicking a button and becoming free. So yeah, from what I can tell of what I'm reading here, essentially they have redone the whole thing from scratch, which is pretty impressive that they're going that far, but also, I guess, kind of telling just how bad the original was. Again, I haven't played it, so I can't really attest to it, but I have played the rest of them, so it does add up. The communist path isn't the most interesting thing here for the Raj, I'll be real with you. There is something later on that I am going to go into that does have my attention. I guess one thing that is kind of interesting here is this focus right here. The red curtain falls over Asia now gives you an opportunity to spread the revolution across Asia without getting directly involved in war. Now, it does look pretty interesting. You can obviously get involved in a lot of countries here, obviously, in Asia. The only thing that really bothers me when they put stuff like this in the game is they make it really damn slow to do. Like, there'll usually be a ticking timer and you can only do one at a time, and considering you have so little to spend your PP on in this game at later points, it's just a bit annoying. So I'm hoping it doesn't take too long. Obviously, you know, 30 to 70 days would be ideal, but we'll have to see. Obviously, I don't want it all just to be instantaneous, just spam all of them at once, but maybe like doing 2 at once, or being able to do the instigating, you know, just all at the same time or something like that, but then having to do the coups over time. I feel like that makes a bit more sense, especially because when I did play the Raj, both games, you didn't really, you won't be able to really do a lot of stuff until literally the 50s. So the focus trees didn't flow too well for you to be able to both build your nation, but then also have an impact in the world. Yeah, all I'm saying is I hope this is a nice balance, and obviously you're not going to be playing until 1950 trying to get Nepal to flip to communist. Here you go, it says a little bit about how this will work. So if you perform a communist coup, the AI can either decide to join you directly as a puppet or cast the country into a civil war. So it is a bit of an RNG whether or not you're going to get yourself essentially another part of your country there, or an ally. It does say down here though, as you gather your strength, you can take on the great Japanese threat, which makes me feel like you're going to get a lot of this stuff around like 1939 and be able to do, you know, a little bit of expansion potentially there. but yeah, we'll see when it comes out. Okay, but this is where, my eyes popped out of my damn sockets and I went awooga. Here we go. The loyalty branch for the Raj. We've added a loyalist branch for India where you remain a dominion of the UK. The tree's divided into 2 industrial branches. One is where you continue to extract as much wealth from India as possible, helping to fuel the UK and the Dominion's industries, or a more moderate approach which aims to reform India's industrial capabilities to keep the wealth inside India. Less radical than the independence branch, but more progressive than the former of these options. Now, that alone, doesn't sound that great. It sounds like you're just going to be playing a bit of a weakened India compared to your independence movement. But that's not the interesting part of this tree. There is one focus that you're going to want to see, and it is all to do with this focus down here. The jewel becomes the crown. So if the UK capitulates, you then have a opportunity as India to actually carry on in exile as the UK. And if you do this, you do become free. The British Raj will receive the default major status in the world, and you will transfer the entire navy to the British Raj. So if you've played the Dutch before and you've fled to the Dutch East Indies, it's exactly the same concept, which sounds like a fun challenge. Obviously, it's a bit of a weird prerequisite. I'm not too sure how you could set this up without a bit of, finicking, touching it up a little bit, maybe going into the console, but you do need the UK to capitulate for this to happen. Now, it does sound like a really interesting little challenge that could be set up somehow. I'm not too sure if you're ever really gonna see it in a normal game of Hoi 4, because seeing the UK capitulate is, 1 in 100 thing, really. Plus, you're also you're gonna have to play India to do it. I guess it would kind of make more sense if you were playing as the UK and you somehow, had the opportunity to do this focus yourself, or an event fired and you switch to the Raj. I mean, of course, it is super ridiculous to even switch to the Raj over something like Canada or even Australia rather than the Indian Raj, but I can understand they just wanted to put a fun little challenge in there, and it is obviously a India DLC, but I think this focus would have been better had for you to actually unlock this as the UK if you're playing a UK game, and then potentially you also get the opportunity to move to Canada or something. I don't know if anyone from Paradox is watching, but I assume you can see where I'm coming from here, because not only would this make for a fun game for yourself, but usually if you play Germany, you just rush the allies down immediately. Sure, it is fun to just annex them because all you have to do is land in the UK, which is not a hard thing to do. It would then be nice to potentially see the UK flee to Canada or the Raj. You could still get a peace out, but they keep on to all those overseas colonies and stuff like that. I think it'd be pretty interesting to see that. I don't know if you guys agree. Let me know in the comments down below, because from a gameplay perspective, if you're playing a game, you want to capitulate the UK and have peace, that should still be an option, but it doesn't really make sense that all you have to do is capitulate the UK in like 1937 and you get all of Canada, the Raj, and all their colonies and stuff. I think instead, you could just have the core UK land and then have the UK flee to one of the dominions, and I think that would be incredibly fun. But yeah, it's a cool concept. I'm definitely gonna have to try this challenge out. I'm gonna have to set it up, obviously, but yeah, I do think this should be moved to the UK, and this branch just unlocks potentially when you move on over to India. Or Paradox, you want to take my idea, you can have the option in which colony to move. Say if India hasn't done the loyalist branch, you then default go to Canada, something like that. That'd be really cool. But yeah, essentially we're just making Kaiserreich here, aren't we? Yeah, Paradox, you ever want to just give me a job ideas, man? I'm willing to take a low salary. Yeah, the Loyalist branch, it doesn't look that good other than that one exile game, obviously, scenario, which, again, I'm definitely going to have to give a go to. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that at least. Okay, we've also got a rework of Kurdistan because I don't know if you've seen, but, you can just get Kurdistan to just become Iraq like in 4 focuses or something. It also wasn't particularly any good, so I think they have actually changed it now where you can't just peacefully become Kurdistan and the Kurds just win just by clicking their fingers together. But yeah, it looks like they've given them a bit more to do, but again, it doesn't really look like something anyone's really gonna play. And at the bottom, they've also gone ahead and had a little bit of a sprinkling of Iran in there, saying they've got a few new characters, new generals, and 2 scientists, and nothing too crazy. It does look pretty good. And then at the bottom, we just have the patch notes for the patch that's already gone. We're gonna go look in game at that in a second. There's only one real big thing that I do want to go see. So here we go, in game, looking at what is new. And there it is, the jewel becomes the crown. So to actually do this, we need to have one of the following, which is the UK needs to be capitulated or have more than 5% surrender progress. Like I said, it's not exactly something that I imagine you're probably going to be seeing too often, if at all, unless it's really set up. But I will definitely be going out of my way to give it a go and a look over at some point. Yeah, I think this definitely could be expanded a bit, though. It's a bit of a small shared focus tree, especially considering there's a lot of people that will be in this to do all of these, and the AI does tend to usually get it done. But we've already read about all of that stuff. I think what we need to show off, though, is, well, something that people have been asking for a while. First off, though, let's just go ahead and get a little bit of research done. So I'm just going to grab that, and just that for now, because Paradox have actually added a way to save your designs for your planes, your boats, and your tank. And I did briefly have a look at this yesterday, but I didn't look too far into it on exactly how it fully works. So we look at my saved designs here. Oh, so they do have a tab for historical ones. That's pretty interesting. So I guess if for some reason you are looking to play a historical game, you could use historical equipment. You could do that. So this is the basic fighter that I would usually build. Just heavy machine guns, engine 2, the only thing we've got, and then our armored plates. And I've saved it, and now if we wanted to load it, let's just go ahead and get a new template. I can view my saved designs, look at my fighters tab right there, and boom, there you go, it's in. You can also add a designer node too. I'm just gonna put basic plain Chungus. Yippee! So what's cool as well is you can also go ahead and share your design. So I've just gone ahead and here you go. I will make another template here. I copied the preset for this one by clicking on export to clipboard, and then I've copied that into my text folder, and I'm just going to import, and boom, there you go. So if your friend has a design or you see one somewhere hanging around, here you go, you just copy it in. And this now works with everything that has a designer, which is cool. Do we have any historical designs for this? We do, only one though, and I'm assuming it's probably the base one to start with. Now let's go ahead and check that out, see if they've actually saved any other ones. If we just say, go get the heavy ship 4 and see if there's any one saved for that one. Let's view saved designs. Historical, there you go, the Vanguard class is there. But it is kind of cool they've gone through, put them all in here now. So again, if you want to do historical stuff, you can. I mean, I wouldn't build this, but you could do it if you wanted to. And I get the feeling not every nation will have a lot of historical designs saved. I think it was just the ones that were already in the game. They've just been ported into this system. But, pretty good. I'm just looking through a few of the tank ones as well. It's always really funny actually just looking through and what actually were on some of these tanks and what the game would recommend you build. They're usually pretty bad. It's also really funny seeing the Matilda there described as a light tank. Not very light. Yeah, these are all pretty terrible. Also, that is a Matilda 1, actually. It's not a Matilda 2. And, that most certainly looks like a Matilda 2 in the picture to me. And we got all these cursed British, I think they were cruiser tanks or whatever. Usually, they didn't do too well. And they don't... it's not a horrendous tank. I'd probably put the armor up, and then you've just got all these modules just not used. I'm wondering if they had any like curse, like maybe the TOG 2 in here or something. I guess it would be a interwar heavy tank chassis, but no, sadly not there. Yeah, some of them, they're not horrendous tanks. They definitely work on the AI. Nothing spectacular, and the reliability is pretty damn low on this bad boy. But, you know, if you wanted to use it as a basis and you didn't know too much what you were doing in terms of designers, you could just edit a couple things and this thing would work perfectly fine. But yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty nifty and handy feature just to take the edge off building those annoying templates. You know, you've done it a million times. Now you just click a button, boom. Although, to be fair, I do change around my templates a lot. Maybe not for the air ones, but definitely for the tanks and not so much for the boats, actually. So I think I'll definitely be using it for the planes quite a bit, I'll be real with you. Just, you know, because there's not too much you really want to change with your fighters, at least. It's the exact same thing all the damn time. But yeah, looks like there's going to be some pretty interesting stuff coming to Hoy. I'm definitely going to have to check out that new path for the Indians over there, and probably check out the new communist path as well at some point. It's on my list. Oh my god, this thing looks so huge. There's too much stuff in here. But now they are fixing, you know, well, fixed a whole bunch of stuff. I definitely need to go in, give it a fresh look, I believe. So what do you guys think? Anything good in there that's caught your attention? If it is, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in a bit.